This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork show. We're talking about mixing fish today. I put over the same genus in the header, and on the thumbnail I put the same type. We'll talk about everything basically, but fish that you think, because a lot of people often, this came from you bunging in a load of dwarf angelfish, right? Correct, and people often say there's a word. I couldn't remember what the bloody word was. There's a word for two fish of the same genus. It's like homogeneous. I can't remember what it was, but it's driving me crazy. And I was trying to think of it. I was Googling it. Like, it wouldn't come up with anything. I was like, what's the word? It's like a science word. I can't remember. So someone will tell me in the chat.
But the non-technical term is basically two fish that kind of look similar. Is that what we're roughly going for?
Exactly. And that's all that matters, really. Yeah.
That are cousins genetically.
Yeah. No one cares about the science. That's not quite true, but we don't care about the science for the purposes of this discussion.
There are no facts here, as always.
There are no facts here at all. No. Right. So what are you've so last week, your week in reefing lasted about 4 seconds.
Correct.
But this week things are different. And you've uploaded a video that I've not seen, because you uploaded it at 10:06.
Despite
the fact that we've talked about this before.
Oh yeah, Alex gets mad if I upload a video just before the live streams, because it means he doesn't get to watch it. So, but trust me, you're not missing much, I don't think. But what in that video, basically what I'm doing, I'm really selling myself here, aren't I? I have put corals into the tank. So that video is actually from a couple of weeks ago. So I put corals into the tank now.
Okay.
So I actually made the video about a week ago. I just hadn't actually uploaded it, and I had every day I just kept forgetting, and then today I was like, "Oh, it's upload day. I'll do it today."
I take it you uploaded it and pressed go. You didn't schedule it.
Of course, I never schedule it.
I don't get it. How have you got 50,000 subscribers? How did that happen?
58,000, I think.
58. Yeah, you got 60,000 subscribers.
Almost. How have I got it? I don't know.
It's your good looks, isn't it? That's what it is. Yeah.
Definitely not. Well, let's put it this way: if good looks are what gets people subscribers, how did you get your subscribers?
I think that tells you everything. 50% better looking, Ryan.
True. Anyway, we started with
back on topic. What's been going on, Ryan?
So I have quite a big update today with regards to what I was doing. So for probably 7 weeks, I think 6 or 7 weeks, I had fish in the quarantine system. The Japanese masked swallowtail angels that we were talking about, a gem tang, whitetail coal tang, 2 different blennies, loads, 3 or 4 angels, I think, 4 dwarf angels. And Monday evening this week was the day that basically quarantine ended. Quarantine actually ended the day before on Sunday, but because I was doing the live stream, I didn't have time to put them in. Quarantine ended, so I put all the fish into the tank all in one go. That was a sleepless night, because it was a lot of money going into the tank that day.
Yeah.
And although I've been doing this a long time, and I know that in theory, based on the fact that these fish all went into the quarantine system where I added bacteria, and they were all fine and there wasn't an ammonia spike, put them into the display tank. It makes you nervous putting that many fish in all in one go.
Yeah.
And so I put in I say a bottle of bacteria, but they're these little, I can never remember the name of them, but they're really, really great. They're like these little, they're like reef pearls or something they're called. I can't remember.
Oh, right. Okay. Like the Evolution Aqua Bio Ball.
Yes.
Oh,
those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are brilliant and they genuinely work. So I know some people are skeptical about whether things do or don't work. Those are like, I use them literally all the time. And it's funny because I hardly ever talk about like many products, especially in like an excited way. But The reason I like those so much was because I used those at Aqua, the show.
Yeah.
So everyone had a bacterial bloom, didn't they, on the first day? But
Yeah.
mine was so much less than everyone else's, and it was because the night before, Evolution Aqua, well, it wasn't actually even there was a stand there, and someone at the show said, "Here, have these. This will make your tank better tomorrow." And I put them in, and it worked.
These?
Yes, those. Yeah, pure reef
Yeah,
balance. So
I put them in my second ever tank, and I put them in, and I had live rock as well, so there wasn't really any point when I set it up. But I put them in, and I was like, have I just thrown away 20 quid, or are they doing something? It's like there's no way of testing it, but it's interesting to hear.
They 100% are doing something, because if they're going into a quarantine tank and I'm putting 20 fish or 15 fish in a quarantine tank that's uncycled, they have to be doing something, because I never got an ammonia reading, not once.
So that's weird, because actually no, that's not weird, because no, it is. So that just must be bottled bacteria. What's it called? There's the type of bacteria that establishes new tanks. I've forgotten what it's called, but anyway. So when I set up the quarantine tank first time round, I put some in, and I because I was getting a small reading of ammonia, I kept topping it up every day until I'd used the entire bottle, basically.
Yeah.
And then even after that, it kept going, and I had to do 50% water changes. And eventually, after about a month, 3 or 4 weeks, it went away, and then the tank was cycled. So it took about a month. But so I was using bottle bacteria as well. That must be the same stuff. Maybe there's just more of it.
Maybe there's more of it. Maybe it's used up in a different way, because the balls essentially they start to like dissolve into the water, and then you're left with like a really, really small white bead, like a little, like really soft rubbery white bead at the end. I can confirm they're harmless to the fish, because although you should take them out if you've got them in there, because I saw one come out of the king eye. So the king eye ate one of the basically I put them in the sump, and then they'd gone over the overflow and had been sucked in through the like return pump, and then the king eye obviously ate one of them. And then one day I was looking at it, and I saw it come out of the king eye. So they're soft enough to go through a fish, basically. What I'm trying to say is, if they're in there, if they're in there, the fish will eat them. But like, I know from experience that they can come out the other side, basically.
Okay. Hello, everybody eating your supper, by the way. Enjoy.
Yeah. I trust me, after seeing that, I make sure that there's literally no chance that, how you do things sometimes. You put them in the tank and you go, they'll be fine, they're in the sump. And then if that had killed the king eye, like, firstly, I never would have known that would have killed the king eye, if you see what I mean, because I wasn't going to dissect it. But it's that's one of those things where I couldn't have foreseen happening, but did happen. So now they're in like a little thing that they can't escape from. So that's but yeah. Anyway, back to my week in reefing. That was like a little so basically, I put the fish in at night.
Yep.
Why are you laughing? It's because I went off on
you were trying to think of the word digression, and you got bored halfway through. You're like, "Sod it, it doesn't matter." And you just moved on.
True. So what I did on that day, normally I wait till midnight, but because it's darkening at like 4 o'clock, I just turned the lights off at 6 o'clock, and then by 10 o'clock they thought it was midnight. So, I'm not joking. The entire house pretty much was pitch black. I didn't have any lights on up downstairs. I did film this, and then we did have to put lights on for filming in a different room, just so you can see roughly what's going on. But the fish thought it was midnight, essentially. So the next morning I woke up and I was like, how are they going to be? And to be fair, there had been some fighting, but way, way less than I thought it was going to be. One of the fish I was most worried about was actually the Flymo Blenny, because that fish is so mean, because it literally will swim. It's in its own little hole. If a yellow tang swims past, it will attack the yellow tang. So to put 2 additional blennies in it with it, I thought it might like chase them relentlessly. I've been pleasantly surprised. It has not noticed them at all. And they all live on the same rock together. So there's been no aggression with those. The whitetail cold tang had a bite out of it. The king eye had a bite out.
Bite out of where?
The top fin.
Fin or?
Yeah,
fin.
Just the top fin.
Yeah, okay, fine. Because you've said a couple of times, you've texted me a couple of times and said that there's a chunk missing from a fish. And I'm always like, when you say that, it makes me think of the body. But this is
No,
always
no,
fin nipping, right?
no. It's like a tiny, tiny nip of fin. When I say, obviously,
Yeah.
I think when I text you that, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. What
Mm.
what I mean is like there is a slit cut in the fin of the
Yeah,
fish,
yeah.
and sometimes that slit is further, is deeper than others.
Yeah.
The king eye immediately got a lesson from the female masked angelfish. The female masked angelfish went in and within probably 10 seconds took a bite out of the king eye, and then they have been completely fine since.
Huh.
So, however, the male and female masked swallowtail angelfish every so often have like a dominance thing at the moment
When
where
they
they are
spin
not
round.
happy. Yeah,
Okay.
basically where they sort of size each other up,
Yeah.
where they're not happy with each other. I've been pleasantly surprised with the dwarf angels. They all seem to be getting on. They will chase each other probably for like 3 centimeters and then get bored. But that might be because they are all juveniles, so they're very, very like they're small
Right.
for
Okay.
for dwarf
Yeah.
angels. But there has however been one downside. The trackies that were in the tank have had to be removed because, as I've said to you before, this tank is for fish and not coral. And although there's corals in there, candy canes, Duncans, Favias, chalices, all sorts of corals, there were 2 trackies in there, and both of them started to get eaten by the multicolored angelfish. So those have now been removed. I'm trying to keep talking because every so often Alex pauses to cough. That's why I'm doing this really long. The multicolor is eating the trackie, so I've taken those out today.
Yeah.
Have you got anything you'd like to say on that matter, Alex?
So this is still early days. So when they all decide,
Yes.
I mean, as in this is early stages, when they all decide that they all want to eat every single coral in your tank,
Yeah,
I'm just going to be so unbearably smug. Honestly, it'll be like quite ungracious.
it will
But for now,
it will never happen. It
okay.
will never ever happen. There is
Okay.
not a chance that I won't be able to have any corals in that tank. There just isn't, because I'll just have all SPS corals.
No, totally. Yeah, That's They won't eat all corals, that's for sure.
What is interesting though is none of the other corals have been touched. Only the trachea. Now that I've taken the tracheas out, will they go for the other corals?
Yeah. Okay. What? So have you got anything else fleshy like that, acans or anything, or is it just like hammers and stuff?
No. So no acans, but I've got 3 different candy canes, 2 different Duncans. I think 4 or 5 war corals. I don't know, a couple of Favias, 3 Favias, I think. Some 4 Goniastrias. So it's not like they're things that have
chalices.
I said chalice a minute ago, but I actually don't think I was planning to put a chalice in, but I haven't actually put a chalice in. I don't think yet. But they're not particularly fleshy compared to
not in the slightest. Coral. But they were the one coral that one of the corals that my Moorish idol just couldn't get enough of. And
chalices are no.
I think Polo Reef, his butterflies, maybe his angels as well went for chalices.
That's exactly what that really, really that 5 meter long tank with all the angelfish in it. Yeah, the owner of that said he can't have any chalices at all because they are they're like catnip to.
You wouldn't think it, would you, at all?
No, and you wonder why. Like they're not that different to like Montipora in terms of like shape and like the fact that they're encrusting. They obviously just must be delicious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'll test it out for you tomorrow, and I'll let you know. Just
yeah.
So I want to keep trying different corals just to see. The thing is, I'm not complete. I haven't completed my fish list yet. So I've realized what's the point in trying corals if I've not completed the fish that I'm going to put in there. Although having said that, I'm done for fish for a while now. I think. Like,
how many have you got in now? You must have quite a few.
As in, it's pretty much it's as far as I'm concerned, it's basically full now. I don't know how many's in there. Probably like 30. But it looks busy now for me. And there's also some quite big fish. Those angels are big. And so when you have the 2 masked swallowtails and the king eye, they're 3 quite big fish in that tank. So it looks full. However, on the first day you put them in, you look and you go, this looks too full now. 4 days later, you're used to it and you go, oh, I could put a few more fish in there. It's more of the only fish I'll be adding from now on are dwarf angelfish. That's it. I don't have any interest in anything else.
Change. That'll change.
And a copper band. I will have a copper band. The copper band didn't go, that was the one fish that didn't go into the water box. And the reason was, like, I know copper bands, and that copper band is not going to survive in that tank because it doesn't eat fast enough to be able to compete with the other fish. So that copper band needs to go to a nice, calm, peaceful home that doesn't have anything that's like going to attack it. It might end up, I don't know, we'll see. I offered it to Jamie, but he's on holiday at the moment because he's got a tank full of Aptasia.
Does it need to go somewhere where there's just like a rabbit fish and a hawk fish and a goby?
It needs to go somewhere that doesn't have that masked swallowtail angelfish.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, oh, God,
because I'm very interested to see how you, because you always like have a zero tolerance policy towards aggression. Yeah, whereas I'm a bit more like I allow it to happen a little bit more. So it affects you mentally more than it affects me. I think it affects you because you don't like the visual of seeing one fish chase another. Yeah. Whereas if a fish chases another fish for 3 centimeters, or if it's going round and round the tank, there's a problem. If it does it then I live and let live. If you see what I mean, they'll sort it out. Having said that, the one fish that has caused the biggest problem, and it actually surprised me, of all of the fish, is the powder blue tang. The powder blue tang is one of the smallest tangs in that tank, and it has shown aggression towards everything. It doesn't matter if it's the candy basset. It doesn't matter if it's the large male swallowtail angelfish. Actually, the clownfish had a real problem with the large male swallowtail as well. Why? Why? That's such a weird thing for the female. They are breeding, and to be fair, when I first put him in, the masked swallowtail hid just above them at the very beginning, and I think because even though they were trying to chase it away, he wouldn't leave because he was frightened that they've had like a vendetta against him.
Yeah, but, this guy can't take a hint. We need to escalate.
All of them. I love how people are now messaging me saying, "You want to move that cop band on? I'll have it." So I will message everyone back at the end of the stream. Don't you worry. What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought now. This is why it's never a good idea to message me, because I get distracted and I read the messages. You
were talking about your powder blue being.
Oh yes, yeah. So basically, after 4 days, everything has calmed down. It looks like a normal tank now. No one's chasing anything. I think the other reason that it feels very busy on the first day is because everyone's looking for somewhere to live. No one knows where their place is. Everyone's trying to fight each other. But yeah, day 5, you would assume those tanks have been living together. Those fish have been living together for years. There's no different now to a normal tank, and even the powder blues calmed down.
They're quite aggressive generally, aren't they? I've never had one, but they're one of the more aggressive tanks from what I understand.
So I knew that they have the ability to be a pain in the ass. I knew that already. It was more the fact that it is one of the smallest fish in there. Yeah. So why is one of the smallest fish in there taking on fish which are double its size and probably 10 times its weight? Because although like the masked swallowtails, they're like chunky fish, and to have. But then again, it's exactly the same as the Flymo Blenny. Every so often, one fish is just unreasonably aggressive for its size. So, but even that's calmed down actually. With regards to the other fish, the Flymo Blenny has almost realised is nowhere near the top of the hierarchy.
A lot of fish in here. I can't take them all on. I just need to chill out.
Yeah, and that is definitely what happens, which we'll probably come on to that later with regards to how other fish affect the aggression of their tank mates. So yeah, and I would say that's probably that's my week in reefing. The only thing that I would say, and I discussed this with you on the phone, every so often Alex and I have these non-live stream chats. We just call each other for half an hour just for the fun of it. And I just remember I said to you that it takes the fun out of having fish, quarantining fish. Because I put them in the tank, and I think I spoke to you 2 days later. I went, they don't feel like they're new fish anymore. They feel like they're old fish, and the fish that were in in quarantine, they don't feel like they're new fish either. So you sort of lose that shiny newness to them.
All becomes a bit clinical.
Yes, and the other thing is, I think once they go into the tank after quarantine, you've had to put so much effort in with them, and so much like it becomes really like high stakes when you put them in after quarantine, just because you've sort of invested time and especially money. Quarantine fish is ridiculously expensive. Like I go through like half a tub of the Metroplex very quickly. So yeah, that I would say that's my week in reefing with regards to that system. And then just 2 other quick updates, because obviously I need to go on to yours. I can ship corals again now.
Really?
So this is the first time I've essentially had a month off. Sometimes it's interesting because there are definitely pros to being an online seller, but there are also downsides to there being an online seller. If you go to the very top, go to the very, very top. Don't buy those 2 because I've put them in the water box tank, the top 2.
No, buy them because then you'll have to take them out.
I will have to take them out. Look, to be fair, I don't mind taking them out because I've actually got another box of corals with them coming in. And I've had those corals for probably, I don't know, 8 weeks, probably even longer than that now. And they're both wool corals, which people go, I'd never buy a wool coral. I'd never buy a wool coral. I don't have massive problems with them. One of them does have a little bit of die off that has healed. So it had die off when I got it like 8 weeks. That's one of the reasons I before I sell that, when it's open up, you can see it and it's full. But if anyone bought that, I would go, look, just so you know, I've had it this long. There's this section of skeleton is dead. It still opens up full. It's not dying. It arrived like this, and I would send them a picture. But
the only thing I don't think that walling hammer corals are any more likely to die. I don't think they're any more sensitive than branching types. It's just that if things go pear-shaped, it's got no redundancy.
Yeah, but
so
that's no
why
difference.
I wouldn't buy them.
But that's no difference to a trachy or a scully or like.
But if you can buy, if you want a hammer coral, and you're like, I can either buy one that is more likely to survive if things go pear, or one that's more likely to die. Which am I going to buy? And bearing in mind, hammers are not in short supply. There's billions of them.
Yeah, true. But there's 2 things I'll say. This firstly, the risk is exactly the same as buying a single head. The risk only becomes less once that single head has grown a second head. That's when because then you have 2 heads, and one of them might die and one of them might not die. So it only becomes
the risk is lower then.
Yeah, but only once it's grown.
The risk in the first week or whatever. Yeah. But
it takes longer than a week to grow a head of hammer. But you understand what I'm saying, because all the time people come to the farm, they go, I'd never touch a wool hammer, and I'm like, but you will take 4 heads of hammer. That's all that are all like single heads of different colors. So the downside is you can't frag them. Like people do frag them, and when they come in from the ocean, they're fragged. They literally take a machete, get a massive colony, like cut it, and then let it heal up in the ocean, and then they ship out they're frags, but they're like big pieces of them. So they come in like that quite often. Although I prefer them when the wool hammers come in and they're a complete. Like you can see that they've grown like that. But yeah, what I was going to say is like there are definitely pros to being an online seller. 100% there are pros to being an online seller. What some people don't realize sometimes, if you're thinking about being an online seller, is that for a month I've essentially not been able to earn any money.
I wonder if December's a really busy time for shops, or if because everyone's out spending, or if people are spending money on presents instead of corals.
So usually I think December and January can be good months for fish shops, I believe. It's usually the end of January, and usually between Christmas and New Year can be like really, really big for shops. I remember it was Reef Dreams used to like do a coral thing, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was like
a weekend,
it was big for them. And I've spoken to a couple of shops recently, and they were like, "Yeah, it's been really busy." Whereas I'm sitting there going, twiddling my thumbs, going, no one's going to buy corals if they can't have them for 2 weeks. So it definitely, because obviously it's been cold. So, and don't get me wrong, there were some people that bought corals, but it definitely is a downside that you can't like, some people do come and collect, but it's a rarity. It's more of most of my customers are in places that don't have shops. They're in places like, I know there are shops in Scotland, but like obscure places. If you've got, and I would be exactly I'd be exactly the same. If I had a really, and I obviously didn't have the coral farm, if I had a brilliant shop near me, there's no reason for me to buy online. So it's always like, I actually quite enjoy looking at the addresses, because it's like Churro or just the most weird, like not weird, like really obscure places where they go, we have no tanks here. No tanks, no shops here.
No shops, So it's been proper cold lately, but today is the first day it started to thaw out a bit. So tomorrow it's going to be 0 degrees.
10 degrees. It gets up to 10 degrees, I think.
By the end of the week, the lowest temperature will be like 3 or 4 degrees. It's going to be sun on a week on Tuesday, Ryan. Sun.
Yeah, but Tuesday is the first day that I'm shipping corals out, and I've got loads of them booked in already. So
okay.
It's just the only reason I mention it is because everyone thinks it's like plain sailing. It's great, like having being an online business, but there are downsides. You don't get dry goods. You don't get walk-in customers. No one comes and buys water from you. No one buys. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are also, and you literally sometimes you have to close for an entire month of the year, essentially. So basically, I've been having to eat rice for the last month. But
you're back open now, and have you sold anything, or have you actually?
So people have been buying. I put a post out yesterday. If I put a post out every single day, I would make more money than because sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll miss a few days, but usually if I put a post out, one of the thousands of people that see that post goes, "Yeah, I'll buy a coral today." It's like reminding people that you exist.
Yeah.
And the other thing to mention, actually, just quickly, is so I mentioned in a previous live stream that I'm getting into selling fish. And I mentioned that if you're within a local area, like of an hour of where I live, that it's worth, because I'm not going to be shipping them. And people who listened to that live stream emailed me. So it worked. So like I have a significant list of people now that are going, I want fish. So that's my next level. And once your fish, I'm not making you feel bad. I'm currently running like 6 tanks for 1 fish or 2 fish and a couple of mollies. So, but your fish goes on Friday. I know you think I'm trying to make you feel bad. I'm not. I don't care.
I know you're messing around. Actually, on that subject, are you using your fish trap at your acclimation box at the moment?
No.
Could I borrow it, or do you need it in the next week or two?
You can have it. It's fine. Is it for the female masked angel?
Yeah.
It'll be the fish is too big for that box.
Oh, really? How big is the box?
Me. I do this on on the streams, so the people on the podcast have no idea what I'm saying. I can't remember. It's probably it's less than 30 centimeters. I think the fish would be barely. They're fish that they swim quite a lot. And they're quite fast, but it'll be bigger than any of your fish. You won't have any trouble with it.
I'm not worried about it getting attacked.
You're worried about it. I think you'll be okay, because it will be the newcomer.
Yeah.
I think.
And that's so my fish will have been in there from tomorrow, so a week basically, just under, and then so they would have had time to reestablish their territories to a degree.
You might have issues with future fish. Is what
with what fish? Sorry,
with future fish. Those probably she might be as good as gold. I don't know.
Yeah.
But as I said, the one that I have, like psychopath.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. She'll end up coming back to me. You'll be like, do you want a second female swallowtail, Ryan?
I'll sell it because you can't get them. So
that's true. Actually, someone will buy it. Yeah.
Although actually, so a shop contacted me because I've been after this for a long time. I've spoken to a good few shops, and every now and then, if I find a new shop, I get chatting to them, and there's like, anything you're after, and I'm like, actually, Japanese masked swallowtail angel.
Yeah.
And a shop contacted me this weekend, on the week or something like that, and said, we can get one. Do you want it?
Yeah.
And I was like, I've just got one actually. But I wonder if more of these are coming in because TMC got them in for on the back of the live stream, and now suddenly they're getting a few more in. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, it shows that there's like, if they can get them, because they're an acquired taste. So, but what I'm saying is, if you can get them regularly, and people have snapped up the first ones, why would they not get more in? Because it's something that sells. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they do start to become more. Apparently, they used to be available all the time. I've spoken to a few fish shops, and probably like 10 years ago or whatever, like they were readily available. Whereas for some reason they just stopped becoming available. I don't know if that's true. But 3 different shops have told me that.
It sounds like they're a bit of a pain because they're in an odd location and they're an awkward location. They're deeper because Japan. The divers are more expensive, so it's a lot of hassle and a lot of effort, and it's not worth the risk for most importers, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, but
that's probably why the cost comes with them. There's a big price attached to them. So yeah, but in getting ready for the shipments and everything, I completely cleared out the coral farm. Like when I say cleared out, I mean just cleaned all the glass. I didn't clean the trays, but sometimes you'll get like dead bits of coral under the tray, or you'll get like there'll be a few frag plugs that you've left in there or whatever. I've just basically just completely cleared it out. New year, new start, hit the ground running basically. And I've already ordered my first box of corals to come in as well. So and I've also sorted some fish as well. So that will be soon.
Happy days.
So, yeah. Big year. It's going to be a big year this year. And also, I bought my first thing for Aqua.
Really?
Because the reason I just thought I'm going to start doing this slowly. I need tanks and stuff like that. But no one is buying gazebos when it's freezing, when it's freezing cold. So I've doubled my stand size this year, which I'm not sure even is ludicrous. I've realized that I'm doing this because it was hard enough running one stand. I'm now thinking about having 4 tanks rather than 2. And although I took enough coral to fill 4 tanks last time, but I need to have a 6-meter marquee rather than a
6 meters.
Yeah, it's 6 meters by. So last time was 3 meters by 3 meters, and this and this time it's 6 meters by 3 meters. So it's only double the size. And if you think about it, we were crammed in that little stand.
Yeah, that's true. 6 meters is big though.
Yeah, but you saw it. We were you could barely fit in. You came behind the stand at some point, didn't you? You came behind the coral trays, didn't you? Yeah, and you had to slide down the side, didn't you? You could barely fit in. So it's I don't see 6 meters being unreasonable, because all I need to do is just double everything. I think we had 2 tanks and I need 4 tanks, and we had 2 extra tables and we need 4 tables. So, and then obviously I need 2,000 corals rather than 1,000 corals.
It's not double, is it? It's more than double.
No, because it was 3 meters by 3 meters last time.
But 3 meters by 3 meters by 3 meters.
Yeah.
And now it's 6 by 6 by 6.
No, 6 by 3.
Oh, I see.
So
right, fine.
So I'm literally doubling.
I was trying to do the maths, but I was like, that's more than double. Okay, fine. I understand.
And I'm right. My stand is right in the center of the room. So it's there'll be one main corridor where also they're doing the talks and everything. Mine is right in the very, very center. So I wanted to have as much room as possible, because the biggest complaint I got last time, and even someone came this weekend, and they went, "Oh, I saw you at Aqua, I couldn't get near your stand." So I went, "Don't worry, come back next year. Come back this year." And
so you'll have 6 meters of surface area for customers to queue up at.
it will now look like no one's there. You know how before it looked packed? It'll now look like I've got hardly any customers, because they'll be spread round.
So this is the website. Tickets are available now. 20th to the 21st of September is the weekend. I've booked my hotel a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you're in the same one as last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in the same hotel again. It's we won't tell everyone where we are. Everyone turns up, but
Premier in Coventry South.
That's true. Although I wish I'd got the other Premier in because it's next to Nando's. There's another Premier Inn which is literally opposite Nando's, and when we went to Nando's on the first night, I was like, "Is that where we're staying tonight?" And it wasn't, but it would have been very convenient if it was. So that is,
I thought you were a veggie.
I am. But
Nando's sells chicken, doesn't it?
They used to do a really, really good vegetarian option, but I went in there the other day and they've stopped it. So they've now completely lost my custom. I will no longer go to Nando's because I have nothing to eat.
You could just eat chicken.
True. But just, I know it's too early to start saying this, but it was great last year. It was, and is hopefully it'll be better this year. People were a bit hesitant; they didn't know if it was going to go ahead. It got cancelled at one point. I've spoken to the organisers already. They have big plans, like bigger and better than last year, and it's time to start. And it won't be cancelled this time. It will be on that date.
Yeah,
so
they know what they're doing this time. It must have been. So I had a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. I joined one or two Teams calls. I think one Teams call, and I saw a few emails between the organisers and all that. And there's a lot. The amount of stuff they have to do is insane. You just don't think about. Even like when I got to the venue, there were a load of signs all the way up because this venue is this massive complex. There were a load of signs everywhere saying Aqua H this way, really clearly signed out, and I just thought. I wouldn't have even thought about that. I'm sure the venue tells you, but they're just millions of jobs. So now they know that this isn't going to be a surprise. I'm sure they'll have challenges, but
the form that they send you this year to be a vendor there is very different to the form they send you last year. So this year, the form is literally like, what do you need? Like what size stand is it? What electrics do you need? Like, is it going to be? You understand? It's like absolutely every detail is on this form because it's the second time they're doing it, and they obviously learnt this from the first time. So it's and as I said, like it was great last year. I had a different experience to everyone else. This is like. Some people were less happy. Like, I know the reptile people weren't overly happy. Some of the fish people, like the freshwater, said it wasn't represented enough. But this year, people are going, well, it was good last year. It got loads of publicity. So I think more vendors are signing up to go, we can see this. It was serious last year. It'll be much better.
And people, the first time round, it's understandable that people are going to think, is this going to be a success or not? Especially when it got cancelled first time round. It's like, well, is it worth the effort? And now people can see it's worth the effort. So
it's a confidence thing. It's a confidence thing.
That's business is all about that, isn't it?
For me, it's like it was great last year because obviously I was one of I was a vendor there, and there were less vendors and things like that. Whereas I got a lot more competition potentially this year, so I need to like really like up my game to try to stand out. But you know me, I like a challenge.
You mentioned Metroplex earlier.
Yes.
So when you treat Metroplex, this is for Brooklyn Ella. Do you do, because I think the stuff that I use, it says you have to do 2 days of treatment and then you have to do a 25% water change.
No, it doesn't say that on Metroplex.
So you just chuck it in and then leave it.
So basically you have to put it in every 2 days, I believe. When I say I believe, I know that's right. I don't know why. Yeah. I think it's because I'm talking about medication. I don't want to go, this is what it is. So someone's basically read the label. But there's 2 ways of using it. Either you can mix it with Seachem do a product called Focus, which is a weird name and basically what it does is you mix that with the fish food and then the medication sticks to the fish food. Why they call it Focus?
It's an antibacterial thing. Fish companies, this is not all of them, to be fair. Some are good, but a lot of fish companies are terrible at naming stuff. Tropic Marine are one of the worst. One of the best and most respected companies. Yeah. And you look at their range of anything, and it's like I have literally no idea what any of that means.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Make it easy for me. I'm stupid. Yeah. Tell me what it. Call it nitrate plus or nitrate minus or whatever. Anyway, sorry, rant over.
If I ever start a brand of like dry goods. It'll be like it'll just be for nitrate plus will just be increased nitrate, increased phosphate, decreased phosphate. Each of the products will just be called that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I think part of the reason it happens is because everybody just calls it phosphate plus, phosphate minus,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. So you want to have something that differentiates you and gives you like a brand or whatever. And it just sounds a bit like, well, I might as well just go and buy the chemical if you're just going to call it sodium nitrate. But so
Yeah.
I kind of get that, but just like some of the naming is just terrible. And Seachem Focus, like if you were looking on a shelf, you're like Seachem Focus, what does that do? It could do literally anything.
I'm not sure focus is the. I think that is
That's
the
an
right one.
antibacterial I looked at.
Is it a little powder? It's like
It's
I
a
just want to double check. It's
blue.
definitely the right.
I don't know. It's not a powder in this.
I think that is the thing I can't remember. Yeah, it is. It is that where basically you can mix that with food, and then the medication sticks to the food, and then the fish will eat the medication. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think that you can kill the fish by giving them too much medication, because like it doesn't seem like a very accurate way of giving a fish medication, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Just how much was stuck to this piece of mysis, how much was stuck to this piece of mysis.
Yeah.
If it's all clumped together and one fish eats all of like the whole bundle of food, like I've never had any issues with that. The other way of dosing it is directly into the tank. You have to dose double the amount if you do it that way.
Right.
I do it both ways. So I will dose it into the tank, but occasionally I will feed the fish it as well, just in case they got anything internal. If it makes a difference, I don't know. But I just thought, why not do it both ways?
Makes you feel better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was my only question for you. I have a bubble tip anemone update.
Okay.
Bubble tip anemones are the most stupid animal on the planet. They are literally brainless. Right. So I last week I had one that popped off, and it was moving around. Right, and it moved. First off, it landed on my trumpet coral. Idiot, get off it. And then it moved down to a really nice spot. Great, everybody's happy. It's in a good spot. It's not touching anything. It's getting all the light it needs or whatever. And then about 4 days later, it was like, no, I'm not happy here. So it moved again. And I was like, oh god. And it moved to the spot it moved to. I was like, that's fine, whatever. But obviously, when it starts doing this, you're like, when's it going to settle? When's its final? Yeah. When's it going to be happy? And it turns out it was not happy. So it decided to jump up again. Only anemones can't swim. They can float, but they can't swim. And so it just ended up, I came in the morning and I just heard like a
That's on the power.
I was like, oh, what's on my power head? And it's just this mulched anemone. So I just had to peel it off and throw it away, basically. I might have been able to rescue it. I don't know. It looked a state. I might have been able to put it back, but I was just like, you know what? Survival of the fittest. Now is your time.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally cut them in half, so it could have survived, but it is obviously being a pain in the ass.
And if I put it back in, it's not just going to be like, oh, nice one, cheers, I'll sit on the rock now.
But why is it doing that? Is because you've had it for ages. So why all of a sudden has it gone, I'm not happy with where I am?
I don't know. The others are all fine. So that one had been stretching up massively for a long time, and all the others didn't stretch up. Stretching up to the point that it looked like it was going to detach any minute, whereas the others are fine. And they were right next to each other. It was right next to other anemones that were good. So I don't know. I didn't do an exit interview with it when I got rid of it.
Aren't they genetic? Were they splits of other of one of
yeah. So I put in there's a chance that it's different. They're not the same thing, but it's probably genetically identical.
I say genetically they're identical and they're in exactly the same space and they've been in the same space for a long time.
Yeah. And one's like, nah, not happy.
This is why our tanks are challenging. To some extent is why we enjoy our tanks, because
it is. But anemones, they just do my nut in. It's like, can you just be happy? And they annoy me. But it's my fault for putting anemones in a tank that I want corals in. Because if it was
sorry. That's something that I haven't sorted. There are some rogue anemones that are roaming around the LPS trays. And they're bubble tips. They've escaped from I had a little bubble tip cage. They escaped and they are now populating underneath the racks. And then they just poke up between the racks. So you can't get them. The only way to get them off is to literally scrape them off. That's one thing I haven't done. And there's about 6 of them that are just poking in between the racks. And every so often they'll come and sting a coral. I'm like, oh, why are you doing this? So I move the coral away, but don't deal with the anemone. They're going to be like the Aptasia of the LPS tank. I'm just going to have like, I'm going to end up having like hundreds of them, but they're all under the trays poking through.
A lot prettier than Aptasia, to be fair, but
Yeah, true.
That's not much consolation when you're when they're selling the thing that you make your livelihood out of.
True. Yeah.
I've also had. This was funny. Wasn't funny. This was. I didn't actually have. This didn't give me a heart attack, but I did. I was like, that's weird, and I started to make preparations in case. So about 3 or 4 days ago, I did. So on the stuff I use, API General Cure, when you treat it, you have to put it in the water. You have to put in a sachet for every 40 litres or 10 gallons, I think it is. So I put in 2 sachets, and then you have to do a 25% water change 2 days later. And I think it says you should put in activated carbon or whatever, which I didn't do. Whoops. Anyway, so 2 days after I treated API General Cure, I did a 25% water change. No problem. And it was same level of copper, happy days, no problem. And I measured the copper in the quarantine tank beforehand, 2 parts per million. Brilliant. That's exactly where I want it. And I measured the copper in the water that I was going to put in my new water, 2 parts per million as well, like 2.1 or whatever. Happy days. Everything is good. What could possibly go wrong? So I do the water change. And I'm like, well, I just need to test to make sure. I know 2 + 2 equals, well, hang on. When you remove 2 parts per million and replace it with 2 parts per million, it won't change. But I just want to check. I just want to be sure because I've replaced it with the same level, but I just want to be sure. My reading came back 4 parts per million. 2.5 parts per million is the maximum you can possibly you keep fish
recommended.
And it was 4 maximum recommended. 4 parts per million. And this and you say, go on.
It has to have been wrong. The test has to have been wrong.
I don't know. So I don't know what happened. My theory is that because I did a water change with a bucket, and I'm pouring 28 litres, I think I did roughly 28 litres of water into a 100-litre tank, or is it about 80, whatever it is. And I think it disturbed the sand and all this sort of stuff or whatever. And I think there was some copper bound up in some places because I tested again 20 minutes later. Because what I was thinking is, if that is right, then this is a major problem. I need to do something about it. And I had some water ready to do a water change, but I was like, I'm going to leave it 20 minutes. So I left it 20 minutes, did another test. And the second test came back 2 parts per million. Happy days. Everything's fine. So it was a false result. But I don't think that was a false result in that I think that was what it was testing at the time. My theory is, and I have no idea, I've just realised I've lost the pulsing xenia around the barrier. I'll fix that.
I haven't. That's it still for me.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird. Anyway.
Can everyone else see the pulsing xenia around the background that's not pulsing? Because it's a picture.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, the xenia. But so my theory is that it disturbed the sandbed or whatever, and there was some copper bound up in the sandbed or something. Sand doesn't absorb copper power, apparently. But there must be something that caused a temporary spike. And then 25 minutes later, because the water circulates and the filters are on and the power head's on and all that sort of stuff, it was back to a true result. And my fish are not dead, so it wasn't 4 parts per million. Yeah, you can see the xenia. That's good.
That was the test you actually needed. Although I don't know. I don't know what the limit is for fish with regards to... I know the safe limit people say is 2.5, but is 4 deadly or is like 10 deadly? I genuinely don't know.
I would be surprised if 4 was don't worry about it. A couple of days is fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, who knows? Maybe it's 100. But yeah, so at 4 parts per million copper, I was like, oh god. But everything's fine, and that was a false result. I don't really know why, but that's my best theory. Is maybe some copper power settled in the sand, and when it got disturbed.
Do you know what's funny? I bet that you didn't test it again after that.
Oh, I did. Oh, you must be joking. What, after 4 parts per million?
No, as in you tested 4, then you tested 2.
Yeah.
And I bet after you tested 2, you didn't test it again.
That's fine. Yeah, because no possible explanation. Let me have a look.
So you've now got 2 results, but one of them is one that you believe you should get, and the other one isn't. Yeah. And you go, well, I believe I should get that one, so I'm not going to test it again, even though the second result is just as equally likely as wrong.
2.09 was the second result, and I didn't test again after that, actually. No, you're right. But that's, you're right. but it would be bizarre if it was 4. How could it possibly be 4? If you replace 2 with 2, why does that double? It doesn't make any
I know,
sense.
I know what you mean.
But you're right. It's But yeah,
People do that all the time. They'll test their results, and if they get a weird result, they'll test it again, and then they'll go, "Oh, that's fine." But they won't test it a third time to check which of the 2 results were correct.
Yeah, this is true. To be fair, I did that with magnesium actually a week or so ago on my main tank. I've been testing it, and it's been around the 1250 mark, going up slowly, and then suddenly I got a reading of it got up to 1350, and I did a test, and it went down to 1250. I was like, that's weird. And I tested it again the next day, and it was back up to 1350. I was like, but because I've got 10 results,
Yeah,
why would the outlier not be an outlier? So that's kind of the thinking. But you're right. In theory, you should test again because who knows?
True.
But so my fish are going back in tomorrow night, basically, and there's a lot of algae. So the video on a Friday, this coming Friday, that I've almost finished working on now, is likely to be how the tank's got on. Just an update of how the tank's got on, how the problems I've had with quarantining fish and all this sort of stuff, and having a tank fallow for 3 months. The main issues, basically, not the 2-hour-long discussions that we have here, but like the headlines. Yeah. I've got a lot of algae, and I'm only putting in 1 algae-eating fish. I used to have half a dozen, maybe 4 or 5 at least. Now I've got 1, a rabbit fish. That's it. So he's no doubt he's going to get in there, and he's going to be like, vegetation, happy days.
This is my birthday.
Yeah. But then after, there's only so much birthday cake you can eat before you're like, oh God, you know what? So I think he'll do a job, but I think I'm going to need more algae eating fish because it's going to be overwhelming for him. I might be wrong, but there's a lot of algae.
I don't think he'll be able to. I don't think he'll be able to control it on his own. Then the reason I'm saying this is because I took a load of fish out of the coral farm to try. My theory was, if I take the fish out, I can lower the nutrients. It'll be easier to maintain. What actually happened was I took some of the fish out, and algae started to grow because although I've got a massive powder blue tang in there, 1 fish is not enough to clear 6 feet of coral tray. And you'd think it would be, but when they're getting fed as well, it's so fat, this fish, but it doesn't seem to go around constantly eating. And I can't not feed the tank because I have a cod band in there. So I have to feed a lot for the cod band. The powder blue tang eats it as well, and that makes algae grow. So I think you will need probably to have some sort of other algae eaters.
Before I had a gem tang, a coal tang, a tomini tang, and an algae blenny, as well as the rabbit fish. So that was 5. I don't know how much the blenny does, but that was 4 good algae eating fish. And 1 little one, and now it's just down to 1. So, but I think he will. He'll make a dent in it at least. But I do need to get more algae munchers in there, I'm afraid.
Do you think you are ready for new fish after this traumatic event? Are you going straight back in?
Yeah.
Or you don't? See, I've been put off, and I didn't have a traumatic event. I've been put off just because of quarantine.
Well, this is true. Well, so I've not had I've had fish that were diseased, but I've not gone through the pain of buying a fish, putting it in quarantine, and then it dying. So come back to me when that's happened.
The other thing is, remember, I technically bought like 20 new fish, didn't I? I feel like I've had my fish buying experience over the course of December. So yeah, I don't feel that need to get new fish at the moment.
So I've got 2 issues with me. So I've in that main tank, in that 6-foot tank, tomorrow there will be 4 fish. That's it. 4 fish. That's nothing. And so I need 4 times that, 5 times that. And in my K tank, the fallow period is finished on the K tank, but I can't put any fish in there because I haven't been able to buy anything because I haven't been able to quarantine it. So I still need.
So with the K tank, because you're only going to put 3 fish in there, you might as well essentially just
plop and drop,
put them in. Like, well, is that? But then you still have the same issue because you can't treat them, and then if you then do have to treat them, you're going to have a fallow period again. Yes, so.
And so I just don't think there's any point. I'm going to put clownfish in there, and I'm going to treat clownfish for brook. That's all there is to it. And I'll probably treat them for white spot as well. But if the other thing is, if there's disease in that tank, it's going to end up in my main tank as well. Because I will, even if it's, I'll put food in and I'll share a cup or something. It's not possible to separate them. Like, it is literally possible, but just I'll slip one day and I'll put something. I'll put a piece something from one tank into the other order, and I don't want to have to think, oh, I can't transfer a coral from that tank to this tank because this one needs to be separate, whatever. So I should treat them both the same. But I get that, and I'm still not ruled out plop and drop longer term anyway. Certainly short term, I'll be doing something, at least.
Oh, there'll be some keyboard warriors. Go, like,
bring it on. Walk a mile in my shoes and then come back and talk to me. But anyway, the other thing that's happened to me, so my heating controller, I was going to say it packed up. That's not strictly true, but it's a Reef Factory thermo control that I had, and this was when they first came out. So this was one that they gave to me, and it was August 2020. I looked up when I first got it. So 4.5 years it's lasted, which for something that turns a heater on every day, on and off all the time, that's probably not too bad, but I still feel like it should have kept on going. But it didn't actually pack up. Sorry, how much was it?
As in, how much do they cost?
Reef.
If it's something that's like 15 quid, then I'll go, yeah, 4 years is good. If it's something that costs 400 quid, I'll go, well,
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
170 quid.
So he's gone in the middle of my two prices.
Exactly.
So it's hard. I don't know. I suppose I'm of the opinion that things should last forever. I know they don't, but people expect things to last forever, don't they?
Yeah. But so this 4.5 years, I don't think is bad, and it hadn't actually packed up. Well, it's for the last, I don't know, for at least a few months, maybe 6 months, but for at least a few months, it had been doing this. Every time I open the cabinet, apart from this issue I had, it was brilliant. I really like it, actually. It's absolutely fantastic. I've had it for that whole time, and I would happily, if it weren't for the fact that I had problems, I would have bought another one, no problem, no hesitation. It was really good. But it started doing it whenever I open the cabinet. It's got the little the display, the monitor that shows you the temperature, and normally it just shows 23.8 and it just sits there. It might dip down to 23.7 and then it'll go back up to 23. That's it. It's pretty stable. But for the last few months, it's constantly been going 23.1, 24, 23.2, 24, 23, 24, like that, like literally in front of my eyes, constantly changing. And it's like, and that means that it thinks that it's 23 degrees, it has to turn the heater on. So it turns the heater on and it turns it off, and then it turns it on, it turns it off. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you going so crazy? And I tried moving the temperature sensor to a different location, away from anything that could be interfering with it. I tried cleaning it, and it just didn't do it. So I was like, you know what? It's actually, the temperature was still stable. When you look at the graph, the temperature was stable, so it didn't actually affect it. It's just that it was turning my heater on and off more than it needed to, which is
that would definitely
shortening the life. Yeah, because that means that your heater is going to break a lot sooner than it would do otherwise.
It's not just that. Like, imagine if it got stuck on. Or I know you're saying that. I know you're saying that it was consistent. Or imagine if it stopped working. Stuck on would be worse.
Yeah, but what you're saying is if it's going wrong like that, what's to say it won't get worse?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to bin it. So I threw it away and I replaced it. I got a DD, 50 quid, a DD heating controller. Yeah. There are two things I don't like about it, or a few things I don't like about the DD one. It's a bit noisy. It makes a loud click when it turns your heater on and off. So it goes tick.
You're so sensitive, aren't you? You're so sensitive.
But to be fair, so I've got the DD one on this tank and I rarely hear it, so it's fine. And that doesn't really bother me. The monitor is the Reef Factory monitor it looks really nice, and you can put it in a good location, whereas the cable on the DD one means I can only put it right in the back of the cabinet. So when I open the cabinet, I have to like crane my neck in to see what the temperature is. And I like just when you open the cabinet, straight away you can see the temperature.
That's one of the annoying things about the GHL controllers. They cycle through like the lights, the temperature, and then they show you the salinity, and they show you all the different. And it takes I know 10 seconds to go through all of them, but just show me the temperature permanently. That's the main thing I'm interested in.
Completely.
It's
But
good.
yeah.
And whenever I look at it, it never is on the temperature or the one before the temperature.
And then you have to sit and wait for 10 seconds. And it's only
Yes.
10 seconds, but who's got 10 seconds to sit there and stare at it to find out what the temperature is?
Definitely me.
Yeah,
But
that's so that apart from those little issues with the DD one, I've been using the DD one for years. I had it before Reef Factory sent me the thermo control, and the thermo control is actually really good, apart from the fact that it broke, and that's all that really matters. But I actually really liked it. But the DD one, it's been knocking around for a long time now, and it's got a decent reputation for reliability. I actually reckon if you busted it open, it's probably not the most sophisticated, high-end piece of equipment you've ever seen in your life, but it just works, and it's 50 quid. Can't really argue with that. It won't note it. The only downside is, so the Reef Factory one, if I was away and the temperature changes, it will tell me, and that's happened before when I was down in visiting my parents in Dorset, like 3 hours away, and it said your temperature is 21 degrees. I was like, oh no, why? Whereas this won't do that because it beeps, and I can't hear a beep from 3 hours away. But the Red Sea Auto Top Off does do that. Weirdly, it's got a temperature sensor and it'll tell you if the temperature's off. That's right. So I don't need it. So
the one thing, so the thing from DD that I've had, and they've gone wrong a few times, are those. Have you got those skimmer overflow? The thing that turns your skimmer off if it overflows.
No,
they're a great idea, but I think I've had 3 of them fail. Because they're great. I need them for the coral farm because of how the coral farm's designed. So it's just they're very frustrating because, and the other thing is sometimes when you turn them back on, they don't sense each other. Even when you clean them, because it's a sensor and a magnet. Even when you clean them, it's still going. I'm sorry, but it does. There's nothing there, and I'm going turn back on. I've just cleaned you. So that's.
I've never seen the point of something that turns your skimmer off when it overflows.
So on the coral farm, it is important for 2 reasons. No, just one reason mainly. So the skimmer is exposed, isn't it? It's like the sump is at the back of the tank, so it can easily overflow elsewhere. That's the problem. So whereas normally it just overflows into your sump, doesn't it? Whereas because of how the coral farm's designed, I
see. So it's
overflow. If it will only overflow like if it's like splashing. It's not going to literally pour onto the floor. But it's enough where I would rather have it sorted, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but that's so. My skimmers never overflow. They just never do it. I've had it in the past where if you haven't dialed it in properly, they overflow. But I haven't. It hasn't. It's been years since my skimmer has overflowed, and even if it does, I'm going to notice it because it's the sort of thing that you'd hear a noise, you'd hear a trickling and a bubbling. What's that? So I'd notice it straight away, and my skimmer is in the middle of the sump section, so it's not like it would spill out over the edge of the sump and drain the tank or whatever. So I think I'm sure for some people it's really useful, but I just don't see the point. Better service, thank you. And you had to ask once this time, 3 times last week.
No, not good. Not good. You are a bloody angel there. You be nice to Mrs. Reef Dork.
I'm very nice to Mrs. Reef Dork. Don't worry. But yes, I just don't see the point of an overflowing thing. It's just, or like for me, I'm sure there's some people who think it's great, but I've never. That's a problem. That for me is fixing a problem I've never had.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't have them on. I've never had them on a normal tank. It's only the coral farm that I need them for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
but that's the end of my weekend reefing. Tomorrow is a big day for me because I got fish back in my tank. But I'll talk about that next week because that hasn't happened yet.
You won't, in theory. Will you have it? I don't know. You might have the female masked swallowtail by then as well. Somehow. I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking maybe Friday to sort something out.
Cool. But, I'll be around.
Yeah.
Yes, so member questions. Hello, members. First one is from Gabrielle's servant. Servant. Should you add a dwarf angelfish before or after adding coral? This is, people often say this, don't they? Like you'll read up and, I'm going to buy a fish that might eat coral, butterfly angel, whatever. But if I put all the corals in first, then it won't see it as food. Whereas if I put it in after, it'll think I'm feeding it or whatever. So, Ryan, what's the reality of that?
I don't think it makes a difference is my honest answer. But my real response to this is irrelevant. Because are you never going to buy a coral again? After, so if you put a dwarf angel in, are you never going to buy a coral again? And the reality is no. So if I said, yeah, you should put all the coral in and then put the angelfish in, at some point one of those corals is going to die. So you'll have to put another coral in. So is there a better way of doing it? I would say possibly put the coral in first, but I don't think it matters. People say that it doesn't think it's food. I don't think that's a real thing. As I said, the trackies were in there first and the multicolor angelfish started eating them. So, and the rock's in there before any of the fish go in. And do the fish go, oh, that's in there already, so that's not food. I won't eat the algae off that. It just doesn't happen, does it? So where this mentality comes from, I don't know.
I think it's so. I think this is one of those things that doesn't actually. That's you should ignore that. But it makes sense. Like logically, if the coral is in there already, maybe it won't think it's food. Whereas if I put it in because I put stuff in the tank, it'll think it's food. There's some logic behind that, not the rock solid logic, but I think that's where it comes from.
Yes.
But I don't think. And to be fair, I've never done a study, so I don't know. But I don't think that's an issue personally.
I would say it doesn't make any difference. And even if it did make a difference, you're not going to not ever put coral in again.
Yeah.
So if I just, what I would say is look at your coral choices very, very carefully. Don't put trackies in. Don't put acans in. Don't put probably scollies in. Things like that are sort of quite tempting. If you're going, I'm going to go for an OSPS tank. By all means, go to town. Like it's very unlikely they're going to have you'll have any real problem if you have an OSPS. But yeah, you just be prepared to take those corals out, or take the fish out. Or if you're not prepared to take the fish out or the corals out, then don't get the fish. It's because angelfish are very, very hard to get out of tanks. They are one of the hardest fish to get into a fish trap because they are very nervous. Like dwarf angels rarely leave the rock work. They're not out and about to swim around like a tang, are they? They literally are quite close to the rock all the time, and they're not easy to catch. So that's my advice. If you don't want the fish to eat the coral, don't put the fish in.
If you haven't got the huevos, don't eat the omelette.
Whatever that means, but yes.
Next one is from Bish Bash Ash, who says, if you could pick one coral from another country to bring it into our reefing hobby that's impossible to get now, which would you pick? I know immediately my answer to this one.
I don't really know. People say this all the time where they're like, oh, America has better corals than us or whatever. I know you're going to say Acanthophilia, I reckon. And that's the only one that came to my mind. I've never had an Acanthophilia. I don't particularly care for them. I think a lot of people care for them more because they can't get them. So,
yeah.
But are they anything particular? If they were readily available and as cheap as a trachea or as cheap as like some of the other corals that are, would they be as exciting? I don't know. I never wanted one when we could get them. I don't want them now. I
didn't want one when we could get them because they were £1,000.
Yes, true. Yeah, that would put me off.
In the States, like people pay $1,000 for a 1-inch frag. Prices are a lot higher, I think, in the States. Whereas not across the board, but you get more higher price corals. Whereas over here, £1,000 for a coral is a lot of money when you can get a really nice coral for a couple £100. Well, for £10, frankly. But
yeah.
But I think that's a fair point. But mine would be an acanthophylla. I really want one. But
yeah.
Can you think of anything?
That's the only thing I can think of, because generally speaking, people you see corals in America and you go, oh, they're amazing, or whatever. I've been to America, and when you go out there, and I've been to loads of the coral shows and everything, the corals look roughly the same as they do here. I couldn't tell you a specific coral and go, oh yeah, I really wish I could have had that, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, that like. Not really.
If you're not going to give another answer, I'm going to give an answer for you. Bleeding apple scully is the other one I'd like, because I have a war paint scully, and those are the two nice ones.
I don't really like scullies. I just have no interest in them.
No, I like them. Yeah.
I don't like things that randomly die for no reason, and scullies are one of those things.
Scullies are pretty hardy. It's just they don't like warm water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on,
that's the thing. And most of us keep our tanks with warm water, and they need to be fed, which most other corals.
No,
Most
they don't
other
need to.
corals.
I don't feed mine. But that's so. Someone asked earlier what my temperature, my temperature is in my tank, and they're both about 24 degrees. I think they were set at 23.8. I set up the new thermostat is 24, so I run them cooler,
Ooh,
and that
right.
was I started doing it at 24 because partly because it's all LPS, mostly
Yeah.
LPS anyway, but mainly because I had a Scully and I was like, apparently 24 is about as high as they like it.
We
But
should get some
LPS
of
they
those
like cool
colder
water.
water fish. I don't know what temperature jawfish like.
Blue
You know,
spot jawfish like
yeah,
cooler. I think they're like 22 degrees
I'll say.
maximum blue spot, but they are amazing. Let me have a look and see if
John Wright,
I've
while you're looking, John Wright just asked the question. He said, "Why don't farmers, I'm assuming coral farmers, sell more softies? Is it because of profit on SPS? No, it is because soft corals are an absolute pain in the ass. So,
really.
like, I
What's that?
hate soft corals. Zoas, fine, other than the fact they might kill you. Because remember, when you're dealing with lots and lots of zoas, they're more risky than just having a few zoas in your tank. It's toadstools and cabbage corals and finger corals and xenia, even to some extent. You can't
Oh, I
stick them down
see.
very easily. Like, they don't, if you put glue on them, they just slough it off and then float off or come off the
Right.
plug.
Okay.
So, like, I would love to sell more soft corals, and I am considering selling more soft corals, but I would want to start importing soft corals, but on frag plugs, because then I don't have to deal with, someone's already dealt with the hassle part. So I got a load of really, really nice bright green. I can't remember what it's called. I don't do softies so much, but it begins with S, I think. But like a finger coral, like a really, really luminous neon green finger coral,
Mhm.
came from Jamie. It's massive.
Sinularia.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, massive. Like,
Swinging a hit.
it's probably bigger than my head,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can get loads and loads of frags off it. But you can't, because if I try and stick them down to anything, and people go, "Oh, what you do is you get a toothpick and you tie it down with a rubber band," which also, if you do that too tight, it cuts it in half. It's like, people like me that are growing corals want easy corals to frag.
Mm.
And toadstools are another one. Toadstools are great, but if you cut a toadstool, it doesn't look like a toadstool for months. It looks like
Yeah. Okay.
a little piece of flesh stuck to a frag plug.
Which actually, if you're buying one, it doesn't matter because in 6 months it'll look normal. But the reality is, when you're shopping and you're looking, you don't get the ugly duck. You don't want the ugly
Yeah,
duck, do you?
it doesn't look.
Yeah.
Those pieces aren't usually even round. They like, someone's taken scissors to them and cut just a random
Mm.
chunk. The best
Mm.
thing to do with those, and you have to do it really, really quickly, is get a scalpel blade and then cut a pineapple ring, like, around the entire outer edge. Obviously, while you're doing that, it's closing up, so that ring gets a bit more jagged
I'll
as
do
it
it
goes
quickly.
around, and then cut those pieces into segments.
Get a cookie cutter and like boff.
No,
Wouldn't work.
because
It'd have
then
to
you're
be a
just going to have,
sharp cookie cutter.
and you're also just going to have a toadstool with loads of random chunks
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
So according to Live Aquaria, between 22 and 25 and a half is the temperature for blue spot jawfish. But I'm sure, actually, I've read. It's been a long time since I've read up on them, but I'm sure I read that it's more like between 18 and 22.
I heard that they were much, much colder.
I think 25. I think that they come from much cooler waters. I think they come from Mexico, from very shallow waters in Mexico, when it's like is not we're near our temperatures. So I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yellow-headed jawfish, no problem. But blue-spotted, as stunning as they are, it's not fair on them.
Yeah.
But no, no, there no. I don't think there are any fish that it opens up for me, because the fish that like cooler water like even cooler than that. And 24 is fine. You keep SPS in 24; it's not going to do any harm. More questions, member questions. Edward says, "Have I been calibrating? Oh, have I been calibrating my pH probe correctly? The instructions say to soak the packet in the DT to equalize temperature, but since it takes time to calibrate, wouldn't it be better to put the related temperature probe in the same calibration packet?" And he says this was a Coral View Hydros. When you set up the pH probe, it makes you select the temperature probe it will reference. And with that, the real answer, I've never used any Coral View, any Hydro stuff. We don't get it in the UK, unfortunately, which I hope will change at some point, because I think it looks really good stuff. But I would email Coral View and ask them, but it would make sense to me if you put the temperature probe in the same packet as the. I presume what you're saying is you're putting the pH calibration sachet in your water, and then you're calibrating the pH probe whilst it's in the water. If you see what
That's
I mean,
what I
it's
got
still
from that, I
floating.
think.
Yeah, and if that's what if you're taking the sachet out, then I think you want to calibrate it at I'm guessing you want to calibrate it at the same temperature as the tank was. I don't really know, but I would put them both in the water, submerged, and put them both in the sachet.
I would take that one step further, and I would take a liter of water out of the tank, and then in a container, and then do that, because I'd have no idea what's in that calibration fluid, like what is getting it to that.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but
just
the real
for
answer
safety,
is, yeah, we're guessing. The real answer is email Coral View and just say, can you just clarify this? Because it sounds like their instructions aren't clear.
The temperature of a liter of water is not going to drop quickly enough compared to like 5 ml of solution. So just don't do it in your tank, just in case you spill it in the tank.
Very true. And another from the same person, unfortunately, he's had a few days later, he said he's had a disaster. One of my water change buckets got contaminated while in the garage with laundry soap. Lost all but one fish, but surprisingly, bubble tip, anemone, and corals and inverts are all alive. Other than one more, is that definitely what happened there? I'm just wondering. That's not a coincidence. Other than more water change, cycling my carbon, any tips for contamination overdoses? By the way, the skimmers never look cleaner. And he said he's ordered Microbacter 7 and copepods. Blind guess, but it seems right. His parameters: nitrate 11, phosphate 0.59, which is quite high, alkalinity 7.5, calcium 476, a little bit high, magnesium 1305, pH 8.1, who cares, ORP, who cares, 279. Sending an ICP tomorrow. ICP is a good shout. I'm sure it was the contamination, but that seems like if it's not killing your corals, which are more sensitive than fish, why is it killing your fish? And different things can kill different animals, but
that's the sort of thing I'd like to go through with that person and do like a full breakdown of what actually happened that day. Like, was that definitely what caused it? Could it have been a candle that was lit or something else, if you see what I mean, other than that? Because you're right. It's a bit weird that's the way.
Well, he bought a gem tang that was actually a black tang. It was just covered in white spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. I mean, the water changes. What's the polyfilter? Removes metals. I don't know I don't know if there's metals in this stuff. Probably not. But polyfilter removes all sorts of things. Cupresorb removes metals. I don't know if that's going to do any good. But
I do know the ICP test is not going to test for washing detergent.
But then if there's something poisonous in there, zinc or whatever, I don't know. But it's worth doing. I would probably do 3 50% water changes in 3 days, because then in theory that will get rid of most of the water. But no, I think you're doing all the right things. I did just. I'm sure that is what happened, but I did think that's a bit weird for all your corals and inverts to be alive.
Sometimes people want to believe they don't know what it is, and they see something, so they want to believe that that's what's caused it. Where what actually needs to happen is they need to rethink everything that's gone on with their tank recently, to go, if basically what I would suggest this person does, if you cross that off and say that isn't what's caused it, what else could it be, is what I'm trying to say. Because when you start thinking like that, you then start thinking of all possibilities. But without actually going, that's the sort of thing where you need to go through and actually talk to someone for an extended period of time to find out what they've been doing, to see if it could be something.
Because there might be something that you haven't realised, you haven't thought about, and you just talk about it. And apparently, JJ has the hydros. He says you're supposed to float the packs of calibration fluid to match the tank temp. Doesn't actually say whether you put the. Do you put the probe in the? I presume what you're saying is it doesn't matter then. But do you put the probe in the calibration solution sachet? I think he's saying that if you just put the calibration sachet in the tank, then the temperature probe is in the tank as well, and it's the same temperature.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of the member questions, which means we're on to the headline topic.
Did you just wait? Did you just see my shocked look on my face then?
No, what? I didn't. Why
it was like this. And it was like this because I went, Oh crap! I've not thought of a
You've
fish
got.
of the week.
Oh, okay. Well, we might run out of time because we still got to do news. There's a little bit of
Okay,
news. So
good, because literally
let's
the
do.
look on my that panicked look on my face, which people would
That's
have
hilarious.
caught if they were watching, was just that exact realization that I'm delaying us now, so I don't have to do it.
There's actually some good news. You know, when I build up and go, amazing news, different size
Okay,
grain
good,
sand.
good.
There's actually some good news. But anyway, Ryan, how do you keep various fish of the same type in the same tank?
So if I'm gonna, I had this sort of discussion with you before the live stream. What I said, this is mainly about tangs and angelfish is what people talk
Mm.
about. But you see it like all the time that on the forums people go, "How do I mix? Is it okay to mix a flame angel and a coral beauty? Is it okay
Mm.
to mix a yellow tang and a purple tang or whatever?" And the answer is yes, but also no, in my opinion. So, is it okay to mix a flame angel and a coral beauty? In theory, yes, it can be done, but it's far more likely to be successful if you add another fish, is what I'm trying to say. So if it's one on one, they want to try to kill each other. If it's one on one, so it's three fish, you are far more likely to have success.
I'm
So
just going to interrupt you because I've remembered the word I was thinking earlier.
okay, okay.
It's conspecifics, which
I
means
don't even remember. I don't even remember what you're talking about.
means of the same species, not genus.
Oh, I
Anyway, sorry.
see. I see. Thank you for interrupting
Carry
my
on.
train of thought. So I now have to
Sorry,
spend
I
5
just
minutes
couldn't.
trying
I
to get
just
back
suddenly
on
came
track.
into my head, and anyway, sorry. Fish.
So the thing I find interesting, and what I actually said to Alex before the stream started, is why do people only ever ask about tangs or angelfish? Why don't people usually ask, can I keep multiple pufferfish? I've never seen that question. I mean that I'm not on the forums as much as you and
Yeah.
obviously some other people. But is that a regular thing that comes up? Do people go, can I mix multiple pufferfish? Are people going, can I mix multiple butterfly fish or frogfish or anything? So
Mhm.
this topic usually is focused around tangs and angelfish. And with regards to those, I do have experience on and I can comment on. And that is the more you have of them, the higher your chance of success within reason. Tangs usually, after a period of time, can live together for years and years. And I've seen this in loads of tanks, in Polo's tank, in Jamie's tank, I believe, like big tanks that have lots of tangs in. After a period of time, sometimes they all turn on each other and they all rip each other's fins off. You will have seen it in probably Polo's videos where I think some of the fish have got like no fins. It seems to be after a few years. I'm assuming they're reaching maturity or something. That's
Yeah.
when that happens. But as juveniles, when you can keep lots together and you're more successful the more fish you put in. Basically, is the answer. End of topic.
So if you have a 2 foot tank, your advice is to put in 7 tangs.
Yes, that's
Okay.
that's exactly what I am. So John Wright has just said 3 dwarf angels at once. Yes, absolutely. So I've just put 4 in, and there's no aggression. There's virtually no aggression between them at all. If I had 2 in there, one would be chasing the other one constantly, and I made that mistake when long time ago I put a coral beauty in with a flame angel. Long time ago, probably I don't know, 15 years ago now, and the flame angel just absolutely beat the crap out of the coral beauty. So whereas now I put 4 fish in and they're completely fine with each other. So the difference is how many fish there are, and if they're added at the same time as well, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have 2 yellow tangs at the moment that I keep in separate tanks, because whereas if I had a third fish, wouldn't question about putting them in the same tank at all. And it purely comes down to when there's 3 of them, they're like, yeah, exactly like cichlids, you spread the aggression. Although with cichlids, I think people really pack them in a lot with cichlids, don't they?
Yeah, I think you're supposed to buy like 1,000,000 in per square
Yeah.
foot. Yeah, like they
Whereas
literally can't move. Like,
people say about odd numbers, not sure if that's true. Don't think fish can count.
do you know? I've heard some smart people say, actually, yeah, there's a thing in that. So,
But
but who
why?
knows?
I have repeated that myself, and it's only during this live stream that I've just thought to myself, does that actually make any sense? Does odd numbers
It
make
doesn't
sense?
make any sense to me at all. But I wouldn't rule that out. That might be total and utter bollocks, but
Yes.
but it might be. Why
Does
not do it in odd numbers? Is there any reason if that's
well,
might be a thing?
it's cheap. Well, as long as it's over 3, it's
Yeah,
cheaper to have 4 fish than it is to have 5 fish. So there's one reason to have.
yeah, true. Yeah.
You might not have the space for 4 fish, but if you haven't got the space
Very
for 4
true.
fish, I'd be questioning if you should be mixing them in anyway.
So tank space, you need good tank space if you're going to be doing this.
Yes, that usually helps. Another thing, and in theory, it does make sense. In reality, does it? Feeding, people say if you keep them well fed, they're less likely to fight. In theory, that's true. Does it? Does it actually make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah,
People are more
that
angry. People are more angry
yeah,
when they haven't eaten. So maybe
yeah,
yes.
that makes perfect sense because if there's plenty of food around, there's no point arguing about it. Whereas if there's not much food around and someone puts a bit of food in, I'll fight you for it.
But is
So
that the
that
only
does,
thing? Is that the only thing that fish argue over?
but that's no exactly. That doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. Doesn't like it's the same thing with because people say do that. Oh, if you want your angelfish to avoid eating corals, just feed it loads, and it'll never have a reason to eat your
That is
corals.
absolute
But that's
nonsense.
exactly because one day you could be like there'll be 2 people in a prison. They don't
Mm.
like each other, but they just get by every day. And then one day he looks at you wrong, and you're like, "That's it. I'm having it today.
Yeah,
I've had my dinner. You know, I'm nice and full."
yeah.
So it's just that doesn't. I think that's yeah. I think there's a lot of sense to that, and that might make a difference. But it's not like if you do this, that's it. You'll never have any problems.
I can 100% confirm, and again, I see it all the time, or I used to see it all the time, that people say, "Oh, if you keep a fish well fed, it won't eat your corals." It's nonsense
Mm-hmm.
because at the moment, the fish that are in the tank permanently, in the water box have nori, and they virtually permanently have one of those grazing wheels as well. So they
Yeah,
get one grazing wheel a day and nori permanently, and they get fed 4 cubes. And that multicolor still wanted to take pecks on the trapping.
completely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
fish do have a preference with regards to taste, 100%. There is no doubt about it at all in my mind. My powder blue will not eat the pellets because it knows that mysis is coming next.
Yeah, exactly.
It used to
And
eat pellets, it now doesn't.
yeah, if you have a lion and you're feeding it so much that it can almost can't move, and then you go and one day you're like, well, it's full. I can just walk past it, no problem. It's probably going to bite you.
Yeah.
So feeding it doesn't make a difference. This is interesting, actually. There's according to so JJ says there's a book called Can Fish Count, and according to science, and I've just googled it, fish can count. When I say
Okay, fine.
science, I mean Google, but apparently they can.
In theory, they must have done some sort of test with regards to that. But my question is, can they count their tank mates? That's what we're really trying to work out. And I'm 99% sure they haven't done a study on that.
No idea.
But what I will say to people, and again, I don't mind if people experiment with their tanks. Just do the right thing if it goes wrong. So if you've got 2 fish and one fish is absolutely hammering the other fish, you have a choice. Either you can leave it and hope that things get better, or you can remove one of the fish because the chances are if it doesn't get better, it's going to die.
Yeah.
So I don't mind if people experiment with their tanks. I don't mind if people put angelfish with coral or tangs together. But if one of the fish is being absolutely hammered, like where it can't even come out of a cave, wrasse are no one ever questions about mixing multiple wrasse. I've noticed. Like wrasse are one of those things where people think you can put them all together. Wrasse can be absolute bastards with each other sometimes. It's fairy wrasse. Fairy wrasse are the ones that go and hide in the cave. And people go, I've not seen my fairy wrasse for a week or 2 weeks. And then they go, oh, I've seen it. It just comes out just to grab some food to go back in. It's because it's being terrorized.
Yeah, so I've had that with the fairy wrasse a couple of times. Technically, I think is it right that harlequin tuskfish is a type of wrasse? Because
Yes.
I think that's right. I had a red-headed solon wrasse that got absolutely battered by my tuskfish. They're obviously very different types of wrasses, but I'm sure that's right. I'm sure I'm not making that up. Wrasse, but yeah, but they're that's a totally different fish to be fair. Wrasse, yes, it's a species of wrasse native to Western Pacific. But yeah, wrasses are generally pretty. Halichores wrasses are generally pretty peaceful. You can whack in whatever you want, and they'll probably be okay. But even then, I've had Halichores wrasse. I had a yellow wrasse beat up a silver belly wrasse, or the other way around. I can't remember which. They lived together for like 5-6 years. I think one of them was coming towards the end of its life, and that my theory is that it was weak. And so animals
They
attack
pick on the weak
animals,
ones.
don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that could be total rubbish. It could have been middle age. But Halichores wrasses are generally peaceful. But yeah, you do get aggression at times. Yeah.
I've had the Melanaris chase other wrasse before.
Oh, they're absolute dickheads, Melanaris wrasses. This is one of the many reasons I don't like them. Apart from that, they're dull.
I like them. They are not dull.
They're boring. I'm not doing a poll. We've done that, but
no, I know, and I think I won. So the possum wrasse usually get on with everything. They're usually like one of the more. But the problem with fairy wrasse is fairy wrasse don't eat pests, which means, in my opinion, in my mind, I'm thinking, why would anyone have them? What's the point?
They're cool.
Yeah, I know, but I want a fish that does a job. Like if it doesn't do a job,
why have you got a king eye angelfish?
Because it does a job of looking well cool.
Exactly.
Like fairy wrasse are too. The king eye is not going to be restrictive with regards to other fish.
What job are all your dwarf angels doing? Sorry, hang on.
Okay, fine.
What job are your Japanese master swallowtail angels doing? What job are they doing?
Okay. Okay. In the coral farm, I like fish that do a job. In this tank, I just went crazy, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, having seen the dwarf angels in there, and I thought this, and this really is an absolutely bonkers idea. I thought I could take all the other fish out, like not the master swallowtails and not the king eye. Could take all the tangs out and all the wrasse and everything, and I'd be totally happy with like 20 dwarf angels in there because they're so colorful. And they have character to them. They won't do a job. Like algae will be growing everywhere. Aptasia will be growing. There'll be flatworms or pests everywhere. But the fish look cool. Just the rest of the tank, and they eat all the coral.
Yeah, they're very cool fish. Some of the angels you've got, I really like. They're really cool fish. Which not
I might end up taking some of the fish out and swapping them out with I might. I've only just put it in there. I might take the gem out. I might take maybe the white tower. I don't even know why, but I just think lots and lots of big, because they're quite big, those fish, and I like smaller fish. So, yeah, I think I would say probably. I just saw the emoji you just put up when you're talking about Melanaris.
I'm just taking the piss out of this guy because he said more Melanaris bashing. One of my favourites in my tank, so I was like, ah.
So, but yes.
Sorry, Brand. As you want. So, anything else that are there any other restrictions? Anytime you wouldn't mix fish are the same. Conspecifics.
Clown tangs are absolute like psychopaths. So you have no chances. Like there'll be someone. There's always someone out there that I have a clown tang. It's the best fish in my tank. So peaceful. Makes me a cup of tea in the morning, and like just says always compliments me. No, clown tangs are absolute. Like I want to say it, but I'm not going to. But it begins with C. Basically, they are the worst fish. Like in terms of tanks, I wouldn't. There's no point in trying to mix one of those. I've seen them chase fish that are like 10 times their size. And that's not an exaggeration. Acanthurus tangs, if you want to mix them, you can, but you're prone to disease. And like, if you're going to have one, try to keep it not stressed, and having 4 of them is going to stress them out. So Acanthurus tangs generally not a great idea. Zebrazomas, great tangs to mix. Like you can have 7 of them, 7 different colors, collect them all. That's the one thing that I've never been able to do.
Well, you've had the chance though. You've just gone like, oh no, I don't want to pay for a black tang.
No. It's
in
more
that
of
voice.
The black tangs they're always massive. I don't want a matte one. I don't have all the other tangs.
Did you see a smallish one recently?
They had one at Reef Keeper, I think, in Moss End. I think they had a small one.
Okay.
It was gone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Moss End had it. But like, I feel like I'm over that now. That was like we go through stages where you want to collect all of the hammer corals, or you want to collect all of the zebrazomas, or you want to collect all of the. And I'm kind of like the zebrazomas were sort of like something I aspired to 10 years ago, and I thought I'd love to get all of them. Whereas now I'm like, I want to have all the dwarf angels. So you like things move on. But
yeah, and that's the beauty of the hobby. There's just so many different things you can try. So I don't tend to mix fish. Wrasses are an exception. I mix Halicoris wrasses anyway. I think fairy wrasses may be a bit different. Some of them can be a bit feisty, but I don't tend to mix fish because I tend to think the fish I don't want tangs. I don't want angelfish. So the fish I want are things like blennies. And I think, well, might it be okay? Yeah. If it goes wrong.
I would absolutely have more blennies. Having seen that they were fine, I would have all of them. No, like blennies are just such. There's something about them that's like quite special, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're not particularly colourful fish blennies. Most blennies don't have any colour to them at all. Well, they're like grey.
Midas blennies are, but yeah.
But I don't consider Midas blennies the same.
Gold.
Yeah, but they're not the same as other blennies. They have I know they are a blenny, otherwise it wouldn't be called Midas blennies, but they don't act in the same way as other blennies. Other blennies
sociable, aren't they?
Yeah, so other blennies sort of sit on the rocks and hide. Midas blennies sort of swim in the water column. So they don't. The thing that I like about them is the fact that they sit on the rocks. So Midas blennies are not really my thing.
They still do that. It's just they do it 30% of the time instead of 90% of the time.
Yeah. So don't know. Might think about that. It's funny. I spent all this time quarantined and put the fish in. They've been in a week. I'm like, I don't like any of you guys anymore. I'm like, bring on the next batch. So don't know. I probably should have. I kind of knew that that with regards to the gem that I'm not sure why I bought it. I think I was going through a stage of buying fancy fish, but I didn't. That's the thing. Are we going to do the live stream that I spoke about? That I sent you a message about earlier.
What it was, but
about with regards to like, does price of a fish matter?
Oh yeah.
Because I think if you're buying for rarity or not, and they're not even rare anymore.
Don't ruin it.
Well, okay. We'll talk about it next time.
No. Carry on.
What I'm trying to say is, like, if you're buying something because you think it's not because I don't know, because you think it's special, but it's not actually. It doesn't give you that feeling inside, like the masked swallowtail angelfish. Once it's in, you go, it's not like. It sounds terrible, but. And I've had a gem tang before, and I remember the last time I had a gem tang, I went, what was that all about? So, I don't know. But we just do things sometimes. So I think some of the high-priced fish are not actually that colourful. Like if you look at bandit angelfish are nice, but not colourful. Yeah, even the personata angelfish, nice but not colourful. The gem tangs are nice but not colourful.
Right, this is opening a wide conversation.
Yeah.
So we'll do this next week. Yeah. We'll get into it because we got more stuff to do now.
I'm delaying you so I don't have to do fish and coral of the week.
Have you got anything else to do other than on the point of mixing fish of the same type?
No, I would say I'm done probably.
Do you want to do a fish of the week or coral of the week?
No. Well, unless you want to do, you can do a blue spot jawfish if you want, but I have nothing to say about it.
I'm not doing that. We'll do news instead.
Okay.
Here we go. News, Ryan. What have we got news? Oh, okay. So I normally say this is big, this is huge, Ryan. You're going to love it. And it's like a brown goby or a that's got a slightly different app. Well, this time,
you've heard me too many times.
I'm not going to oversell it, but this is different. Okay, so this was from Biota, the American.
I think I've seen
breeding sensation. I don't know if they've discovered, but I've never heard of this before. It's a new type of a nudibranch called
no, I haven't seen this.
It's got a double L, so I'm going to assume it's a Mexican or Spanish name. Spirilla nudibranch, and it looks like that.
Oh, so it's not a brown goby; it's a brown nudibranch.
It's a brown nudibranch. That looks a bit like a Highland cow to me. You ever seen a Highland cow?
Yeah. I know what you're
Big
saying.
fluffy things
Or a
with massive
sheep.
horns.
Look, it looks like a sheep.
Totally, yeah. Like what's that dog? Oh no, what's the dog called that looks
English
like a sheep?
sheepdog.
No, oh no, what's it called? Guys in the chat, tell me what the sheep-looking dog is.
The
Oh,
old
it's going to
English
drive me
sheepdog.
crazy. No, literally it looks like a sheep. Anyway, so this is a Spirilla new species alert, Spirilla nudibranch, and these eat Aptasia. But the difference is they're bloody massive. So a Begia nudibranch is tiny, not a pulley.
Yeah.
A Begia nudibranch is tiny. These are like 1,000 times the size. They grow up to 3 inches.
For some reason, that's good because firstly, if they still exist, a wrasse is going to have trouble eating one of those if it's 3 inches.
This is very true.
And
it's very much a good thing. They're going to eat more. Yeah, they've got more capacity to munch through Aptasia. And they can store stinging cells from their prey and use them for defense. The only thing is, it doesn't say, and I didn't go on to look elsewhere and research them properly, but it doesn't say if they eat anything other than just Aptasia. Most nudibranchs have a diet of one thing, and I think that's kind of the point of a nudibranch almost. So I'm going to work on the assumption that Spirilla nudies only eat Aptasia, but don't quote me on that. But if there's a new type of nudibranch that's been discovered, or we've learned how to breed it or whatever, that can demolish Aptasia much quicker than a Begia nudibranch, and is potentially less appetizing because it's bigger and it tastes like Aptasia stinging cells to wrasses, that's big. That's really big, in fact. That's brilliant. No, what's it called? No, it's not that.
Is it Dougal from the Magic Roundabout?
No. But yeah, so there you go. And you can't get them in the UK, but you can get them at in fact, let me just have a look at this. There's a shop.biota.com or whatever.
Are they breeding them?
Bedlington Terrier. Bedlington Terrier.
Oh, I'm gonna have to Google this now.
Here you go. It's this. This is a Bedlington Terrier. I googled sheep-looking dog.
That is what you thought.
Yeah, it's look. Google says it anyway. Look, whatever. So I'm just going to click on this link for oh, it's disappeared. Here we go. For Biota to see if you can buy them. I think you can do from the looks of it.
$75 on their website, according to JJ.
$75. 62. Oh, here we go. £62.40. I presume that's converted to British currency. There you go. You can't notify me when available. Boo. No, you can't send me notifications. But there you go. You can buy them potentially anyway.
Are they breeding? They must be breeding them then.
They must be. Yeah, they are going to be sold out for a long time. I don't actually know if they're any good. I don't know if they're good at eating Aptasia. I don't know if they eat other things, but I would try that in a heartbeat. And then I'd put it in my tank and it would breed and eat all my corals.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it was going to eat something other than Aptasia, I have a feeling it's not algae.
Yeah. But that's I like that. So well done, Biota, for a start. And that's cool. I like that. I need to go and find myself a Spirilla nudibranch. Wonder if they've got them in the English Channel.
I doubt it. Although they are brown enough to be in the English Channel.
This is true. Next news is about Serious Reefs.
Okay.
So Serious Reefs has launched. I was mumbling last week about I don't like Patreon and I prefer YouTube membership. Membership has now gone live on the Serious Reefs channel, so you can you can become a member. They have 3 plans. They are I'm going to do the price in pounds sterling because what I'm paying: £9, £12, or £18. And the levels are serious reefers, serious fans, or serious supporters. The lowest level, £9, gets you access to all the content. The middle level, which is what I'm doing, gets you early access to everything. And then the higher level doesn't get you anything. You're just contributing a bit more, and it's like a thanks very much sort of thing. The only thing I say before you go and sign up to membership on YouTube, I just don't like Patreon. I prefer everything to be all in one place. But YouTube, and they pointed this out in their video recently, YouTube membership takes a much bigger proportion of their money than Patreon. So if you just want to support them, don't sign up to membership on YouTube. Sign up on Patreon, because it's massive. I think it's like I've never used Patreon, but I think Patreon takes like 5% or 10%, whereas YouTube takes like half. So
I don't actually know.
Yeah, so but it's something like that. But so if you want to support them and you want them to get money, go to sign up on Patreon. If you just want the convenience, which I do, I'm sorry guys, then go on you sign up to YouTube membership. If you don't want to do any of it, don't do it. Next thing, Aquaforest. This is one of those things where I would be like, Ryan, this is big, and you'd be like,
Is it sand?
No, is it better than sand? That sound was actually
that's not a good start. It's better than sand, and you're not sure.
This is worse than sand. This is worse than a slightly different sized grain of sand. Aquaforest has started including nitrate on their ICP tests. What is your immediate reaction?
I mean, to some extent, that's good, because you're getting a nitrate as well.
It's a good thing, and there's no extra charge for it.
Can you feel like the underwhelmness?
I'm underwhelmed by that.
The reality is, like, you're saving yourself 3 minutes to do a user output test kit. That's the reality of the difference. But
no one. I don't think. Or maybe people do. I don't think most people don't do ICP tests to check their nitrate though. They do it to test all sorts of other things, and it's like, exactly. If you tell me my nitrate, then great.
Yeah,
because I can't test my manganese.
I don't think it makes a massive difference, and I'm not sure it's newsworthy.
Well, it's newsworthy. It's newsworthy because people need to know, but it's not. I'm not going to change my ICP supplier. Although Aquaforest is one of the companies I like. I've never used Aquaforest stuff, but I like them. I don't know what it is about them, but I like them. And they are the ICP lab is based in a town called Burzco.
They do everything at Aquaforest. I remember when they didn't do everything, and they just brought out more and more and more products.
Yeah,
they're basically, I would say, they're probably the closest competitors to Red Sea, aren't they, with regards to the amount of products they bought out?
They don't really do much hardware, but they're down there. That's in Poland.
Yeah.
The only thing, Come on.
No, I was just saying, I was thinking more of like all the supplements that they do, and then again, Red Sea don't do ICP tests.
Yeah, loads of it. But anyway, so the only thing with Aquaforest, I wouldn't personally use that. You've got to send it off to Poland.
Yeah.
And if you're in the UK, you might as well use Reef Elements or Triton, which are both ICP machines are in the UK. Why send it abroad? What's the benefit? It slows it down.
Especially with Reef Elements, where you send it off on a Monday and you have the results on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, they're quick.
It's like magic.
Are Aquaforest more accurate? Well, I was going to say something else on that. I was going to say something else on the Aquaforest ICP test, but I can't remember what it was. And that concludes the news. What was I going to say about Aquaforest? I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. Who or what is Serious Reefs? Have you been living under a rock, Woodrow? Serious Reefs is the YouTube channel. Yes, and that's Ryan. Ryan from BRS. So Ryan from BRS has set up his own venture, which is called Serious Reefs. He and Elliot from Marine Collectors run the YouTube channel. They've got videos coming in January. They've uploaded a couple of like what's going on behind the scenes sort of stuff, but proper videos coming in January, and it's going to be a big deal.
Will their videos be available to everyone? Or are they only for the people that are members? Because I don't know.
I think so, but I don't. I think so, but I don't actually know.
You heard it here first. We don't know.
I no idea. It wouldn't make any sense because if you're only uploading videos that only members or patrons can see, well, you're only going to reach like 1,000 people.
If that.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to have 1,000 members.
Yeah, whereas if you upload to YouTube, you might
need more members. They said they were going to. They said they might fly me over. Yeah, it's in the comments somewhere.
They didn't say that.
They did. They said if I sign up to Patreon, that they might sign me. Because remember I said about one of the tests they were going to do, where they were going to go through their quarantine and then they were going to send off the water to analyze it. And they went, "We might fly you over for the results," something along those lines.
Oh,
They
really?
said that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't. They obviously weren't being serious. I assume they
So
were.
what I've heard is they're going to fly us both over.
Yeah, both of us.
For to coincide with the Coral Show.
All expenses paid.
All expenses paid, yeah. Business
and
class.
We only fly business and stay in very expensive hotels.
But anyway, Serious Reefs is Ryan from BRS. I appreciate YouTubers doing streams, but won't pay to get favoritism. I don't understand what you're saying. But yeah, I don't know if
they're talking about paying to have their questions answered or whatever.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that's what it is. I think that it's more that some people appreciate this. You have to remember, Alex and I spend.
I think this is talking about BRS, the Serious Reef stuff, and Serious Reefs. You have to pay for that, basically. Okay, but the reason that's how they're funded. Okay, so they are funded by fans. If you want them to be funded the way other YouTubers are, then you've got to put up with the fact that they're going to get free equipment from manufacturers. Some people have a big fucking issue with that. Some people have a weird issue with that. But anyway, regardless of whether you do or don't, they don't have that. They're not funded by anybody apart from Ryan's wife, not your wife.
No, I don't have a wife. So it's clarify.
Oops. But so they're funding it themselves, and so you don't have to support it. But if you want to, and I feel like I want to support it, then
it'd be interesting to see how big of a scale it ends up being. Like, will it be the same as the BRS sort of tests?
So they've already set up. They've been doing some behind the scenes stuff. I won't go into it completely because you've got to go and sign up if you want to see it.
I haven't watched it. I am signed up, and I probably should go watch it.
They've started setting up. They posted a photo the other day of I can't remember, like 7-8 tanks or whatever that they've bought. So it's going to cost them a fortune to do all of this. But anyway, it's going to be brilliant. So they've started work, basically. They've started work in earnest. So it's coming. And I'm just
messaging Rachel saying, just so you know, I saw you were listening earlier, and I definitely don't have a wife.
yeah. No, they broke up like weeks ago, so don't worry about it. It's fine. No sponsors, no bias. I'm not going to go into the topic of bias because I'm a bit tired of the conversation, to be honest. There is bias. Everybody has bias, but at the end of the day, I believe that you can. Oh no, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into it. I'm fed up.
That should be a whole stream.
We've done it before. We've talked about it before. Yeah.
Yeah, me, I don't remember stuff, do I? But
yeah.
I care very little about anything. Do I? I always wonder. Yeah. I always wonder why people care so much one way or another about different things, because it's just a hobby at the end of the day, and I care so little about anything. So it's so foreign to me that I just don't get it. But let's not go into anything.
No, it's just it's some people get really weird about it. Really weird. And I'm not talking, people in the chat who are like, oh, I don't like it, I do like it, whatever. Anyway, whatever. Just really weird. Anyway, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Ryan?
No. Although it's the first time of the year I get to say, go buy some corals. So, no, I'm done. So all good.
Again, if you missed it at the start, Ryan is posting corals, so you can buy corals again from prestigereef.co.uk, the UK's #1 coral selling website.
And so that's it.
And on that note, we will see you next week when we're going to talk about what, Ryan?
I can't remember. Does the price of fish matter?
Correct.
And with regards to how you feel about this, but we'll just do, does the price of fish matter?
Okay, there we go.
Then that can be a broad. That can mean multiple things. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Cheers, guys. Catch you later.
See you later. Bye.